Hey, welcome to a Thursday version of Command HQ. My name is Brock. I am here with Agent X. It is Thursday, June 16th, 2022. Agent X, how are you doing?
Hey man, what's up?
Agent X, you are the main man.
Not the main man.
Um, so what do you think's going on right now? We have a number of stories available. We have a couple conspiracy theories from Reddit. But the world is sinking deeper into this financial crisis.
Yep. They're predicting Bitcoin down to 10,000. They're predicting a market crash. These hedge funds are starting to unload um, the single family homes they bought up over the past 2 years. It's uh, it's going to be nasty.
Yeah, we have a number of economists that are speaking in very dramatic uh, sentiment about what's actually going to happen to the economy. We have whoever this guy is, Mike Novogratz, says the economy is going to quote collapse, and we're heading into a quote really fast recession. Peter Schiff has said very similar things. I mean, I'm no economist, but I'm intuitively interpreting these statements, and it's not good.
No, it's not good at all. Um, it's Here, let me try to send you this link. Um, Here you go. I'm putting it in the chat. The chat. Just put it. Um, yeah, man, we're heading straight down uh same direction as 2008. It's probably going to be much worse.
Well, it's definitely going to be a lot worse, particularly considering that we have $3 trillion in debt, and now we're beholden to the Chinese to pay this off, while at the same time, the Chinese economy probably will never be stronger in the next, I don't know, 10, 20 years. It's going to be very strong. And, probably in at least 5 to 10 years, we're going to have Chinese overlords, and they're going to be demanding more favorable negotiating terms on whatever deals they're getting. Importing stuff into this country, our prices will continue to rise exponentially. The Federal Reserve will have increasingly less oversight and power over monetary policy in this country. Um, and we were talking a little bit about Bitcoin crashing under $10,000. Well, it's gonna actually, once it hits, like, I don't know, 19, it's gonna like precipitously drop to $10,000 at least, because there's very little support in between ten to $20,000. Um, and a lot of people who bought Bitcoin were kind of holders from uh, you know zero to $15,000. So these people are not going to be you know investing a ton of money, and burrowing these support positions with respect to preserving the value of Bitcoin within those ranges. So yeah, that's one issue. The other issue we have is just that culture and society is unraveling at a rate that we've never seen before. In literally the last 2 weeks, we've seen uh, these electors or anyone associated with investigating the election in 2020 be not only deplatformed, but this is a case in Wisconsin. Michael Gableman, he's a former state Supreme Court justice, and he headed the Office of Special Counsel, which was given the task of investigating allegations of election fraud in Wisconsin during the 2020 election. And not only did he uncover substantive um, allegations that purported to show some of the misconduct during the actual election, but um, you know, he shifting to another gear in terms of this argument. Now, 2 years later, they've, and when I say they, Democrats in Wisconsin and just the DNC in general have come and filed uh, these FOIA or records lawsuits against him, requesting evidence from his office, which is all normal, usual, and stuff. But what is not normal and what is not usual is that he was brought before a hearing this last week over 97 documents that he admitted that he did not provide, and that he was late in getting to whatever party sued him. It's some FOIA, I don't know, some advocacy group. Um, and so he was intending to give those documents over. Instead, the court here, Dane County in Madison, has now held him in contempt and pressing forward with $2,000 a day fines against him. And again, this is not normal for a document lawsuit like this, to hold a former Supreme Court justice who retired from the bench in 2017. And there's a Slate article here too, which is very interesting, Agent X, and they actually have recordings of him in court, and then they have recordings between breaks in the hearing where they're actually violating Gableman's attorney-client privilege. Very common
Yeah,
tactic when they're going after people.
they have no respect for people's rights. It's always a gotcha moment. Um, when it's convenient for them, like this judge and these reporters, they eviscerate your rights. Right? You no longer have um, your due process protections with these reporters. You no longer have any right to privacy. But when you go after them, right, they squeal and say, "Oh, litigation privilege. Oh, um, um, source privilege. Oh, judicial immunity. Oh, they have no problem squealing and squawking. When it's their ass on the line for the misconduct they've committed. But when somebody is just trying to defend themselves and exercise their rights, it's always a gotcha. They have no problem breaking the rules, and they have no problem trampling due process.
Yeah, and so I want to play a little bit of this clip here. So let's play a little bit of this first one.
Ask your next question, Ms. Westerberg.
The audio isn't that great, but here it is.
Control your courtroom, Judge, but you don't have a right to act as an advocate for one party over the other. I want a personal counsel if you.
Okay, so right there when he said that in reference to the Judge Frank Remington, you don't have the right to act as an advocate for one party or another. He's basically alluding to a little bit of bias there, judicial bias.
You are putting jail on the table. I want an attorney to represent me personally. I will not answer any more questions.
He's standing up for his rights. That's all he's doing. Anybody would do this.
You want to put me in jail, Judge Remington? I'm not going to be railroaded.
And mind you, this is a former state Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin, in a state court in Wisconsin. These people know who he is. Literally, Gableman was Remington's boss just 3 or 4 years ago.
At 10:14, up until 10:14, it's now 10:19. I thought the only issue.
So he's getting a little frustrated, yes, but is he going over the line? No. And then, so the second piece of this is actually where they're violating his attorney-client privilege. Yes, is he mocking the judge? Yes. Is he doing it, that's crossing a line or a boundary when he's talking to his own lawyer? No, he's not.
This is his time to shine. This is what passes for success for him.
So he's saying, this is Remington's time to shine, passes for success because he's a trial judge in Wisconsin. Now, whatever thoughts you might have about Gableman, messing up the investigation. Maybe his subpoenas were a little too broad. Um, Maybe he did some things he shouldn't have done. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about the contempt context of this hearing, and it seems disingenuous that anybody associated with the legal aspects of pursuing a legitimate investigation, and where the legislature in Wisconsin has already found that Gableman's report is credible. And then they go and try and ruin them and destroy their career. And now they're going to try and send him over to the Office of Lawyer Regulation in Wisconsin, which will probably investigate and maybe suspend, if not disbar him. But of course, they won't disbar plenty of other lawyers or prosecutors in Wisconsin who regularly falsify documents, have repeat DUI convictions, and stuff like that. So you can see just how this is a complete rigged and crooked two-tier justice system.
Right. So here's the issue for the Democrats, right? There used to be a veil of fairness. Like you would go to court and you had some confidence, uh, even though it might have been misplaced confidence or false confidence, that justice was going to be served and that you would be treated fairly, your rights would be protected. And what we've seen over the past few years is, particularly with the judicial system, is the veil has been just ripped off. You can see how some people are targeted, how some people are just it's just political attacks. They go after people's livelihoods, their reputations, for um, a lot of times it's political purposes. A lot of times, most of the time, it's because they're trying to save that person is accusing them of the targeted person is accusing the judicial officials or the prosecutors or whoever of misconduct and has the receipts, and they have to discredit the targeted person like Gableman. They have to eviscerate him. They have to turn him into a clown publicly, so that when he brings the receipts, nobody listens. It's a cover up operation.
Yeah. And again, I'm not talking about the election. I'm not trying to deploy YouTube's election misinformation policy. I'm strictly talking about the context of this contempt hearing. Anyways, that could make us both frustrated for a long time, Agent X. Let's talk about a few other things. So, unless you have anything else to say, so we have this Chinese stuff going on. Let's see, where is it? Where did I put it up?
I'll
Do,
turn
do,
that.
do.
You gotta click that off quick, man.
Yeah. Okay. So you told me about this. The CCP leaked invasion plans for Taiwan, the South China Sea, threat of unmanned drone warfare. So it looks like, maybe China is ramping up for this potential invasion of Taiwan, and they're going to use drone warfare as maybe their main resource in conducting their campaigns against Taiwan, which makes sense because it's been extremely effective by Ukraine against the Russians. So maybe China is actually using some of the lessons from Ukraine's conduct in the Russian-Ukraine war in its modified plans to invade Taiwan. And, that was a fear by U.S. intelligence in the early parts of the Ukrainian-Russian war, was that all these lessons of new modern warfare circa 2022 were going to be then extracted by China and used against Taiwan. And that's exactly what we're seeing. So what this means is that the United States military industrial complex, which is actually sending all these drones to Ukraine, is actually informing China on how to conduct a drone-based war against Taiwan. So it's not just the
Yeah.
actual weaponry that they're sending over; it's the plan, the strategy, the tactics.
Well, there's an article came out today that Taiwan is saber rattling, saying that they have a supersonic missile that can hit Beijing. So shit's about to get hot.
Yeah. Yeah,
Shit's
real
about to
hot.
get real
They
hot,
don't leak.
real
They
quick.
don't leak. They don't leak that stuff unless it's getting close.
It wasn't leaked. They came out publicly and said it.
Well, they don't say that either. They don't come out publicly and say stuff with that strong undertone unless something is getting very, very close.
Yep.
And I hope
Um,
we all hope. I'm assuming that China doesn't invade Taiwan unless you're from China, maybe, um, and you're a Chinese nationalist.
well, China came out and they issued was it uh, President Xi issued the order a couple days ago that they could engage in military operations outside of Chinese soil. Um, so it was a similar kind of order to what Putin did. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think shit's about to get real hot, real quick. And like, we've never seen, like, in our lifetimes, we've never seen a, um, an actual war between, sophisticated developed countries. Like when we went into Iraq was a shithole, right? And there was a coalition. The same thing goes for when we went into Afghanistan. There was a coalition, and Afghanistan was a shithole. We've never seen, you know, two in our lifetimes, two, you know, uh, advanced military powers go to war, and here we're on the verge of seeing three advanced military powers, and maybe if India and Pakistan get involved, it's I mean I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Here, let me send you a link to this photograph. Here you go. All right, I just put it in the chat.
Okay, I'm pulling it up. That's a badass cruise missile right there.
Yep.
Cruise missile, supersonic. So yeah, again, I think these supersonic cruise missiles that are indefensible strike with impunity, can bypass any known modern defense to cruise missiles, including these missile shields that like they use in the missile dome or whatever they call it in Israel, stuff like that. And that's what's scary about this is all these new military weapons are being destroyed. But what's even scarier is as you're talking about these modern militaries that are now potentially going into war with each other. And obviously, Ukraine has a pretty advanced military, not as advanced as the Russian military. But what we're seeing is that these many conflicts are spreading and they'll eventually join into a massive world war. That's exactly what happened in the lead up to World War One, and exactly what happened in the lead up and what eventually happened with World War Two. Um, so yeah, we've never seen anything in our lifetime, and we're also seeing this unmanned drone warfare characteristic that has been extremely successful, that Ukraine has used in a guerrilla fashion against the Russians, except now we're going to see China use it as a mainline military campaign against a much smaller, much less sophisticated nation, although still a sophisticated military because they're going to be backed by U.S. resources, Taiwan. And we're already seeing a lot of escalations over there too. We're seeing a lot of like these Chinese planes releasing flak in Australian surveillance plane engines and stuff like that. So, U.S. allies are sending like uh, surveillance planes in that area to cover some of those sea areas and so forth. And yeah, I don't know what else to say beyond it. It's not good. And if you were China and you were President Z, this would be the perfect time because the United States has never been more vulnerable. We have the weakest president we've ever had, probably ever.
We're weak as
Certainly,
fuck right now. We are weak as fuck. We have a nation of fat bodies. We have addicted to video games and trannies. Um, we have a president who doesn't know where the fuck he is. We have a Department of Defense and an Army and a Navy and an Air Force more concerned with Pride Month than defending our borders. I mean, we are weak and soft as fuck, like we never have been before. I mean, just look at the Zoomers, man. These kids, they're socially awkward. They sit at home all day, play video games. They don't want to work. I mean, we are fucked.
I don't know if it's so much that as it is that can be turned around pretty quickly. I think it's just this decay of society in the form of like our borders, like they're sending in these third world refugees. They're overwhelming our population with financial requirements to support people who don't work or who are immigrants and stuff like that. All that plays a role into being unprepared when shit like this breaks out. Because,
Dude, I'm gonna wholeheartedly disagree with you, and I'm gonna send you a link because this is what America is right now. This is what America is. I'm gonna
what is this?
wholeheartedly disagree. Just play it. Just play it. That's what America is, right?
Well, to be fair, that's what America always has been.
No, it hasn't. No, 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 no. It has not. This is a recent phenomenon. Just like, technology is stalled. I mean, just think between 1913, what, um,
It's promoting this ghetto
between 19,
culture.
yeah, it's promoting it, but I mean, just look at the pride flag in the back, and you have these, um, you know, I don't know, seals in the audience, like clapping for it. It's terrible. Just think, man, between when, just think at how much we've stagnated as in terms of technology because of the drop in IQ, because we don't care about our children, because our education system is in the toilet. We don't educate our people. We let the um, you know illegal immigrants flood our borders and take up bring down our schools. Um, just think, how we've regressed as a society in terms of technological advancement between 1900 and
Yeah, we have. I agree with you. We have
I mean,
stagnated. And
we went from flying the first airplane to putting supposedly a man on the moon in 60 years, in 60 fucking years. And what have we done since then? Well, we've lost the technology to go back to the moon. You know, we have computers now that have stalled out in terms of speed and performance. We have cell phones where you know they're designed to malfunction. They're designed to degrade, so you can slow down. So you have to purchase the next iteration, which has a slightly better camera, a slightly better screen. We have seen no real advances in technology in the past 30 years,
well, that's a
and
whole
it's
separate
because
issue.
it's because our society it's because our society has regressed in terms of intelligence, in terms of uh, uh, the education we provide to our children, in terms of what we incentivize, and it's terrible. This is why America is going to fall, and it's going
Well,
to come quickly.
you know why that is because the United States hasn't had anything to push up against. You need like during World War II, we had Europe to push up against. We had, the Axis powers. And from a financial perspective, during World War One, we had similar forces at play. And now, at least for the past 40 years, we really haven't up until recently with the rise of China. And now it's going to start to come back. And you're already seeing it come back with this kind of virulent, forceful, anti radical agenda coming out of the right. But in terms of like what the United States has always been in allowing or promoting this conduct, this ghetto kind of conduct, that's always been there in my mind. And I think one of the fixes you're talking about video games. Video games have never been the genesis of all this. I mean, if anything, it's our school system that has not prepared students to be successful in life. And if you look at inner city schools in some states and some major cities, it's like a 50% high school graduation rate. It's not even close. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's not even that's not even doable. Like
No, we don't have the
50%.
best and the brightest anymore. It's we do not have the best and the brightest. We abuse our children. I mean, why do we have drag queens in doing story time for children? Why are we not uh like what's the purpose of it, right? Why aren't we
Social
sitting down?
decay.
Yeah, why aren't we sitting down and just teaching children to fucking read? We don't have to have a man dress up like a woman to do it. It's a distraction. It's grooming.
See, I okay. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of distraction, that's again, I don't think that's the main problem in terms of, producing this ghetto social decay that we're seeing. I think what's actually really going on is that there's some other force here that's just trying to impose decay and creating and not like it's the good people who are strong, who are intelligent, who are capable of fighting, who are constantly railroaded through these two-tier justice systems like what we just saw with Gableman. Not to say that he's like the most competent, but things like this that happen to other people. It's like, you know, the most intelligent get, if they speak up, their their career is destroyed. They're ruined in some respects by the media. The media has been out of control for a long time,
Oh
and
yeah,
Trump was really one of the last people in that train to point
it was the
out the
last
fact
line
that
of
the
defense.
yeah, I mean, he was not the first person to say that the media is basically a perpetrator of fake news. What they have been able to get away with in terms of just ruining people for many years. I mean, there's a number of people associated with Clinton who committed suicide because, like in Arkansas, who were destroyed in the media, and these were liberals who got destroyed in the media associated with those real estate scandals that the Clintons were involved with in Arkansas. Um, it has a very detrimental impact on anybody who gets hit with the false innuendo that these newspapers can publish against just innocent normal people, and these aren't public officials. But that's just one issue. I think it's just a broader issue, and I don't think it's something that we can just really address in a short 10-minute segment. But I'd have to do a lot of
Dude,
research
no.
to come up with actual
We,
bullet points here.
we should do a show on it, yeah. Dude, check this out. I'm sending you a link. The FBI has
Pulling it up right
become
now.
Biden's personal Gestapo.
Oh, right, yeah.
This is some freaky shit, man.
Oh, wow. So
Some
this is the
freaky
woman
shit.
who actually found the diary and then gave it to Project Veritas?
Yeah. And the FBI is going after her.
Oh, of
But I
course.
mean, why are we more concerned about the woman who sold the diary than what's in the diary? If we have a president
Yeah.
in the Oval Office who had showers with his daughter, I mean, we got a problem, man. We got a pedo in the Oval Office.
This is Biden's go-to tactic that anybody who criticizes him must be investigated by law enforcement. However,
You know
criminal their actions are.
what it is?
Here, her
I don't
actions are
even
not criminal.
think it's I mean, I don't even think he knows where he is. You know who it is? It's it's Hunter Biden, who I mean, we've seen the article come out that says that he's Joe Biden's closest advisor in the White House, and I think more so it's Jill Biden. I think she's the attack dog.
Probably.
I mean, I mean, just think of how abusive she is. She put this man who has to walk around in diapers and shits his pants, has, doesn't know where he is, clearly has Alzheimer's, dementia, faculties, just, the lights are going out. And she pressures him to run for president. Why? So she can become first lady, and then we have to call her Dr. Jill Biden because she's got a fucking soft science doctorate in education. I mean, it's ridiculous, fucking ridiculous. She is the attack dog, and you know the media, and I mean even the conservative media, they're blind to it. They don't attack her, and that's where a lot of this Gestapo shit is coming from.
I think
I
you're
have no
right on
problem
about
calling her
that.
out. I think she's a piece of shit.
She has no charisma either.
Well, I mean, charisma's. I mean, she cheated on her husband. I mean, it's like her ex husband came out and said, "Oh yeah, she was fucking Joe Biden when we were married," and they've tried to lie about it and say that they met on a blind date, yada yada yada. I mean, it's just bullshit.
Yeah. I I just don't trust her. I mean, I don't trust any politician, let's be honest, but especially her, she seems even less authentic than all the scumbags who are in Washington or DC or state politics. And for whatever reason, I get this sense that she's not telling the truth whenever she talks, like she's hiding something.
Never, never.
Um,
She's
I
never
just
telling the truth. She's
my
fake.
intuition about her, yeah, completely fake. But I think you're onto something with Jill Biden. And the other thing is that Biden's go-to or his people's go-to is always investigating someone who criticizes him or causes him to be exposed in one way or another. And it's actually, people have now found that out about Biden. I mean, Biden's long career in the Senate was premised on that. And he created a number of really corrupt, like the 90s crime bill, for example, and he made a bunch of racist statements on the floor of the Senate regarding that bill. I mean, the whole VAWA situation is another complete corrupt, bill that he led and sponsored and eventually got passed. And all of these programs that he's kind of, and I'm sure there are maybe a few things he's done that have been like legitimate, but I can't find them, and I've tried. And everybody's starting to realize that in this $3 trillion spending situation. Now, Janet Yellen, not to shift gears here, but she said, and she came out to say that, oh, I didn't think $3 trillion in government spending would create this inflation mess that we're in now. She's a trained economist. She has a PhD from like Yale or something, or Harvard in economics. And this is a woman who has spent her entire career in these policy positions. And she has claimed that she didn't know that this kind of spending would do this. I mean, we expect people in those positions to have a spine and not be politicians. And these are the people, again, it's through this corrupt political process. And, Republicans are corrupt in some ways too. I'm not just saying this is a Democrat problem, but I'm saying that especially with Joe Biden, he puts these people who have no spine in these positions, and they're essentially just corrupt politicians who should know better. She's put
Yep.
there to be more of like a scientist in terms of studying what's going on in markets and so forth, and instead she's cowtailing to this approach of, oh well, we need spending because this is like injecting money into the economy to get it spurred. And she used some other excuse too, like she didn't think that the economy had recovered enough in 2008 and 2010. She thought that more money should have been spent. And it turns out, even though Obama's economic recovery was terrible, it could have been a lot worse if people like, in Biden's little cabinet in the vice presidency office were able to get their way and spend even more money. And again, who is paying for this? We're all paying for it in numerous ways now, and it's awful. But let's talk about Zelensky. So Zelensky is here. Let's see, there's a picture of Zelensky. Okay. Was this taken yesterday or was this taken this week?
I think it was yesterday or today.
Okay, so what is odd about this photo?
Well, I mean, he looks like he's going to a fucking paintball tournament.
Yeah, everybody else is dressed up, and then he's dressed up in like military fatigues almost. Just a t-shirt, obviously not complete fatigues, but yeah, just the pants. He's wearing tennis shoes. Everybody else is wearing dress shoes. He's not shaved. Everybody else is shaved. Uh, yeah, what's going on here? Why does he need to invoke this idea that he is like somehow on the front lines when he's not? He's at a cabinet meeting with other prime ministers throughout Europe. He's got what's his face? I think is Macron for France. He's got the German president. I think it's this guy. Is it this guy? Yeah, Olaf Scholz or whatever his name is. Yeah, so he's not on the front
Yeah, dude.
lines.
Let me show you something real quick. Don't mean to take away from Zelensky here, but check this fucking shit out. This is scary, right? I mean, fuck Zelensky, man. He's a piece of shit. Fucking lying. I mean, he's just a propagandist. Fuck him. Anybody who supports Zelensky is a piece of shit. Um, dude, look at that, man. That is scary fucking shit. I mean, we are about to have a fucking banking collapse.
I agree.
I mean, the banks don't have reserves, so they're doing overnight borrowing. I mean, I think what you're gonna see. So I have people like texting me, and they're saying, how bad is the economy gonna get? It's gonna be fucking bad. I mean, the jig is up. Um, you know, they're not gonna have QE and some other tools like they did back in 2018. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but what they actually loaned out was like trillions more than what the Federal Reserve loaned out to these banks to keep them solvent, was like trillions more than what Congress had authorized. I think Bill Maher did a piece about it. We should find that for
Well, they
maybe
almost, I think, had a
tomorrow's.
negative Fed funds rate, that overnight interest rate that they charge banks for taking money from the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, and you know what's happened is a lot of the debt in these um, what is the UE call them zombie corporations. I mean, not even it's not even really zombie corporations. It's just unprofitable corporations like Uber and Twitter, and a lot of the debt was sequestered overseas, and we can't sustain that anymore. And we don't have, QE is not going to work, ZERP's not going to work, or the TARP package. We're going to have a nasty collapse. The Fed's trying to raise rates to fight inflation, but inflation is running rampant, and a lot of it has to do with the fuel costs. I mean, the price of meat and poultry's more than doubled at the grocery stores, and a lot of it has to do with because these farmers, the price of diesel has doubled, tripled, and they have to have diesel to run their machines. So the it gets passed on to us. Um, and what we're seeing here is the beginning. I mean, we're in the middle of a collapse. We're at the beginning of it, but we're in the middle of a collapse, and there's really nothing we can do. There's no out anymore. And we're gonna see a lot of sovereign debt default because the dollar is becoming more expensive, um, and it's going to be a massive crash. I mean, we're going to start seeing defaults here, I think, in the next month or so, and we're going to have a massive crash.
I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been watching The Uneducated Economist because I think he has a realistic perspective. And he was talking about two things. So he works in retail. I think he works at a hardware store, either managing it
He
or
sells
he
lumber.
just works. Yeah, and he's a sharp guy, but he just has his regular retail position. And he was talking about that the Federal Reserve, the the only way out of this is to eliminate the labor market. So just destroy jobs throughout the economy. So make it more difficult for people to get jobs so that there's less money supply in the economy. And he says in his mind, at least, that's, I'm paraphrasing, of course, he might explain it slightly differently, but that's what I interpreted from watching one of his latest live streams, is that the only way that this country can sort of get out of this situation is basically by removing unemployment or removing employment for most people,
Right.
and creating a more competitive labor market. And so by
Well,
doing that, you're going to have two side effects. One is that people are going to be more productive and work harder. And then the other part of that is there's going to be less money supply in the economy in general. And then the other thing he talked about was that like he's been seeing a decline in the retail market for at least like 5 years before the pandemic, and certainly it's accelerated within the last 2 years.
yeah. Well, what they're trying to do, right, is squeeze companies because right now, there's demand for hiring, so companies have to increase wages. So the Fed is trying to um, raise rates to um, basically squeeze out companies, reduce um, uh, the demand for hiring, and therefore push wages down to fight inflation. That's the only way they can really do it, and they can't do it fast enough. And the Fed's panicking because that's not working. They can't raise the interest rates fast enough to fight off inflation without totally crashing the economy. I mean, you see that um, they went to what they raised rate 0.75, the Fed funds rates, and that's the first time they've done it in that much in one shot in decades. Oh man, I mean it's scary. I mean, we literally have nobody at the helm right now. I think the best thing to do, honestly, is fucking stock up on your Patriot supply, fucking buy your PS5 and just fucking play some video games, man, and let the world fucking
I
burn.
thought I thought you were
No
the one who
worries.
was against video games, and you said that that was kind of
No,
the
no, no, no.
creator of.
What I meant was we have all these video games are fine, right? But uh, we have all these soft-bodied Zoomers, right?
Okay.
Who don't go out and play sports. They don't get fresh air. They just sit behind the computer and watch Twitch streams all day and YouTube videos and play video games. And they're not getting any social interaction. They're not, building up their strength, their bodies. Um,
Yet
we're
now
really
you're
seeing that.
you're advocating for adults to basically give up, prepare, play video games, not do anything.
Yep. I
I
mean, what
mean,
else you gonna
and
do,
you might
man?
as well. What else are you gonna do? Because it's like
What else you
who
gonna do?
John F. Kennedy once said that like don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. So it's this like take
Dude,
initiative approach versus not do
you
anything.
should you should make this the banner to your channel.
No, I'm ready for a joke. What kind of joke do you have up your sleeve on this one? Let's check it out. Uh, I will. I will make that. That's funny. Yeah,
Dude,
definitely. That's definitely
I'll,
Joe Biden
I'll
there.
yeah. Yep, exactly. I mean, what the, this country is fucked. It's fucked, man. It's fucked.
Well, who wants to work in a labor market that's so tight that you have to be like, you know, an MIT educated, Elon Musk, uh, fairy tale productive kind of worker
With
where
dark skin, with
yeah,
dark
you're
skin
working all
and
the time, 20 hours a day, you sleep for 4 hours, you're just, you know,
you
outputting
should
tons
just
of
do like
work.
everybody else and live off the government dole, man. Get your
I
EBT card.
know. Well, I would never do that because I believe in being self-sufficient. But I can see where there's a line that people actually give up, and that's where that ghetto mentality comes in. But I would say, again, you're saying, prepare, that's all good and stuff, but I would say just learn a skill. There's nothing wrong with learning just basic farming and buying a little plot of land. and other skills too, like carpentry. Which again, I'm
Yeah.
not taking my own
Okay.
advice because I don't know shit about carpentry. I don't know shit about plumbing.
Dude, well, I mean, you could learn a skill. I mean, programming is a skill.
Well,
But you
there's a
should
skill
definitely
I
learn to do
sometimes have,
something. You should do
depending on the
some,
day.
learn to do something with your hands. Definitely. Hey, dude, I got a picture of the big guy for you, man. You're really gonna love
Oh,
this
really?
one. I got a picture of the big guy. Remember, 10% for the big guy. 10% for the big guy.
You want to pull this website up?
Yeah, 10% for the big guy.
10%. Oh,
Oh,
Robert Wallach.
oh man, fucking
Who's
fucking Pee Wee Herman there eating a fucking hot dog.
who's Robert Wallach?
Dude, I don't know, man. I found that on Google. Who it looked like? Hold on, let me pull up the fucking. Let me get this. Hold on. Dude, why are you making fun of this guy, man? What are you doing? What are you doing,
Is this
man?
the fabled Robert Wallach, celebrity divorce attorney?
I don't know, man. I just saw the hot dog photo. That's all I saw, man.
Such a good photo. Whoever did that hot dog photo is a genius. You got to
I
zoom in
think it
on
was
it.
Ghostface Killer, man. Ghostface Killer.
Are
NWA.
you sending me? Are you sending me a YouTube link?
No. I'm trying to find.
RobertWallach.com.
No. Oh, here you go, dude. This is my favorite right here. Um, Hold on.
Hold on. Hold on.
Hold
That's your
on.
favorite
Right there.
word.
Right
Hold on.
there.
Hold on.
Hold on. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh. Martin Shkreli.
Dude, that's your boy.
Whoa, Pee Wee Shkreli.
That's your boy, man.
I'm no fan of Martin Shkreli stealing money from AIDS patients.
Dude, he wasn't stealing money from AIDS patients. He was trying to dude, he had a solution for the coof, and he tried to work on it when he was in jail and they wouldn't let him. That's how corrupt our
Oh, that's
system
true.
is.
Yeah, well, they called him like arrogant or something, or megalomaniac
Yeah.
for
I mean,
thinking
it's
that his
fucking
skills would be useful to curing COVID, because that's what
yep.
he pled in his motion to, I think, get out of jail and be put on parole or something, or supervised release, whatever it was. But he's out now.
Yeah.
Martin Shkreli.
That's your boy, man.
Martin.
That's your boy.
Well, what else? What else is going on?
Just checking out the threads. Here you go. You might be tempted to buy crypto right now, but you shouldn't. Crypto is a scam. If you want to get into serious finance, you say finance or finance. Look into gold, oil, or stocks. Don't waste your time with crypto.
Okay, I've actually heard a lot of people say that who are hardcore trained economists. I'm sympathetic to what they're talking about because they're saying that cryptocurrency has no asset backing, which is very true. However, they're completely disregarding and ignoring the fact that cryptocurrency is widely used on the internet, and therefore the asset backing is the distributed transaction strength that the internet
Well,
provides.
yeah, the value of it is that it's a form of it's
It's a
a form of
form of pseudo
currency which
anonymous transaction.
yes, pseudo anonymous that you can trade with anybody in the world, right? Like you don't have to convert your money, you don't have to convert your dollars into won or something like that or rubles. You can just straight up trade Bitcoin, and right now it's so ubiquitous. Pretty much everybody takes it. So
And you
yeah,
avoid government regulation. some of this regulation surrounding actually just sending money, $20, $30 to someone in Europe is so incredible that you have to use like PayPal, and they take what, a huge cut. Not to say that some of these exchanges don't take a cut when you're sending cryptocurrencies, but cryptocurrencies have actually added some competition to traditional currencies and government regulation to allow you to send money through other financial services to people in different parts of the world. And that is one of the most crippling parts of our economy, is that it's so segmented. And they talk about globalism, but it's really not, because if you wanted to send, like, yeah, you could send large amounts to someone through a wire, through the Swift network, to someone in Belgium. But if you wanted to send, $50 to someone in Belgium, why not use cryptocurrency? Why not? And you don't want
Yep.
the government knowing, what you're doing in terms of sending that money. I mean, you could be helping someone out who's escaping from Ukraine, and you don't want the Russians to know because, maybe they're associated with some advocacy group in Ukraine that the Russians don't like. So I would say 95% of that activity is completely innocent, and it shouldn't be regulated up to a certain transaction amount. But, that's so in terms of like, cryptocurrency not being backed by anything, and that's also false. It's backed by the algorithm or the data structures that underpin that particular currency. And so
Hey,
that's also not
before
true.
we sign off for the night, what's going on with your boy Alex Jones?
Okay, so I think Alex Jones has been on vacation lately, but his bankruptcy got thrown in to the Sandy Hook judgment trial for damages. And so he's pretty much given up on InfoWars, I think. He's also had some issues where Norm Pattis, his previous counsel, had filed a motion to withdraw from the case, citing a breakdown in attorney-client communication. You know, that's usually one of the first arguments an attorney will raise to try and get off a case, because they can't violate attorney-client privilege, but they can say that there's been a breakdown in client communication. But some of the other reporters have been talking about the fact that Alex Jones has blamed Norm Pattis because of the fact that he allowed all this stuff to happen in terms of getting a default judgment against Alex Jones and Free Speech Systems, his company that produces InfoWars. To be fair, Norm Pattis is a locally renowned First Amendment lawyer in that area in Connecticut. Now, he's become somewhat known around the country because he has represented Alex Jones, but he's also a criminal defense attorney, and he represented a couple other like major clients in cases that got significant media attention, including that Greek husband who apparently was involved in some uh, matrimonial or disagreement with his wife or something, and something bad happened there. I'm not sure. I don't know the facts in front of me right now. But Norm Pattis, and I've seen him talk a lot. I think Alex Jones has a case, and maybe he should sue Norm Pattis for malpractice. Maybe that would be
I
the
don't know, man.
tactic.
I mean, that's the problem with virtually every attorney. They're scumbags, right? And the first hint that things are going south, they bail on their clients, and it's more common now than ever. And it used to be courts didn't let them, right? It used to be courts made them stick it out, and now courts are just like, whatever, go find another attorney. It's all a grift. It's all a fucking grift. But was he back on the show today, or did he have a guest host?
No, he had Owen Schroyer host again today.
Owen
Um,
Schroyer.
so I tune out immediately as soon as I hear Owen Schroyer. He parrots bullet points and topics. He doesn't have any sort of independent interpretation of what's going on. I'm not a big fan of Owen Schroyer. In fact, I like Harrison Smith, who's the early morning host, a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, there's no replacement for Alex Jones, and as soon as you take Alex Jones out of that equation, that whole operation begins to implode. And that's what they've done. They've, you know, they've destroyed any incentive for Alex Jones to continue producing that show. And what ultimately is going to happen, because the Sandy Hook parents have now thrown the bankruptcy in that judgment trial, apparently, is you're going to see, and they probably threatened Norm Pattis, to be fair, with maybe disbarment if he continued to represent Alex Jones. And this is like the tipping point, because if Alex Jones doesn't have an attorney going to this judgment trial, he's fucked. And of course, he's got money to retain another lawyer, but at this stage, it disrupts the entire process. And so the other attorney's not going to be prepared. They're certainly not going to be sufficient in defending, and they'll probably threaten that attorney with suspension as well, unless they screw Alex Jones. And that's how these things work. And that's what you just saw with Gableman. That's what you've seen with all these attorneys that represent Trump. You have to be a young, attractive female not to get disbarred if you're representing some of these characters.
So the Sandy Hook families agreed to drop InfoWars, Prison Planet, and IW Health, the three companies that filed for bankruptcy, from the defamation lawsuits if Jones agreed to dismiss the bankruptcy petitions. So it says the lawsuits will continue against Jones himself and his largest money-making company, Free Speech Systems.
Okay, so he got a little bit out of that, but not much. I think he's worried because I think Prison Planet had some archive of his past footage before he made the Sandy Hook related statements that he was sued over.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Free Speech Systems, is that, do they operate the InfoWars show?
Yes.
Yes, they do. So Free Speech Systems is does business as Infowars.com.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, when you get enjoying.video up?
Pretty quickly. All these live streams are going to be archived there, just like Alex Jones had Prison Planet set up for that purpose. So we'll get that set up pretty quickly here. Just a matter of finding the time to finally finalize it all. I actually did most of the code, and then I just haven't, it's always the last 10% of code that it's the hardest to get done, because you're dealing with, little bugs and so forth. But yeah, it's a simple website, very simple. Just a roster of all the live streams, and then showing whether or not we're live here on YouTube.
We should wrap it up for the night. It's
all right.
Late.
Please do subscribe and like the video if you can. Agent X, as always, is there anything else you want to talk about before we close this out?
No, it'll be interesting to see if we have a crash tomorrow. But let's close it out. Close the tab.
Okay. Are we going to try and live stream either tomorrow or this weekend?
Yeah, tomorrow.
All right, we'll try and be back tomorrow, normal time or range of time. So we'll see you then. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. See ya. Bye.